and welcome. This isn't a wrestling show. This is a hockey show, but we had to do it for obvious reasons because there's wrestling fans on this show. This is Full Press Hockey Weekly here on YouTube.com, Full Press Coverage, Twitch.tv/Full Press Coverage, Facebook.com, Twitter.com, the Full Press app, FullPressRadio.com, and for those not listening live, wherever you get your favorite shows on your favorite podcasting networks. Mike Straw here alongside, as always, Chris Wassel, Jim Biringer. Guys, not a lot of topics today, but we have a lot to talk about. But before we get into that, how are you guys doing?
I'm doing good.
I'm alive.
I'm alive. I mean, I survived on one cup of coffee yesterday after Revolution on Sunday night, so I'm doing good.
Ooh, that is impressive.
Yesterday I took a half day of work because of it, and I started work at like 11 or noon. And it's just one of those things of just like no motivation to deal with that, have energy to deal with meetings or do anything really. So, but I feel you.
I mean, I'm feeling good. I'm excited. Got a lot, not a lot to talk about, but enough to talk about tonight. And, lots of exciting stuff coming on because, what are we, less than now 2 weeks away from the deadline?
13 days.
Woo!
It's my favorite number. What can I say?
And it's going to be fantastic. And speaking of the deadline, for those wondering, we are doing a full live coverage of NHL Trade Deadline Day on Monday, March 21st, hosted by yours truly. I kind of want to throw up my beautiful picture. You know what? I'm gonna download the image and throw up my beautiful picture. Give me a second.
It's going to start. Mr. Ego over here.
You know what? He's got to do it. He's got to do
it. I sent it to Ian, and I was like, "How full of myself is this? If this is the only image I decide to use to announce the show?" And he told me to do it. But I decided to make a second show.
Ian will encourage us.
Ian will.
100% he'll encourage it, and that's why I love it. But you know what? I got the image here. It's uploading for some reason. It's taking forever. There we go. Look at that beautiful guy.
Oh.
Look at him. He's so handsome.
Oh, look at that.
March 21st, Trade Deadline Day.
That is
big,
a
bald,
damn good
beautiful
picture.
Man. Don't stare at the jacket too long. It is an optical illusion. We will be live noon to 3:30 or whenever the deals and news stop rolling in that day. Guests from the Full Press Hockey team. I'm sure Jim will be a part of it. Chris will be a part of it. We'll have everyone we have on staff be a part of it. And working on locking down some special guests. We'll be tracking all the latest news and rumors throughout the day. We'll have our guide of the top players to watch, who to look out for. We got a whole fun graphics package coming. Literally, it's going to be fun. It's probably going to be one of the most beautiful days ever. Though, I mean, I remember writing a story back for the Hockey Writers years ago about how the NHL draft has kind of surpassed free agency and trade deadline day as terms of excitement because of the types of deals that you get around draft week. Hopefully this year changes it. What I hope is that we get some deals breaking during the show, because there's nothing more cringeworthy than watching nothing happen because all the big deals broke the day before.
Oh, you mean what is the 2010 trade deadline, which was the ultimate nightmare? Yeah. It was actually two trade deadlines. There was the pre-Olympic break trade deadline, and then there was the sort of kind of actual deadline, which just turned into a giant dud.
Yeah, giant clutch. It was
not
a
fun
us. Time.
Thanks to the Devils. We're the ones that screwed it up.
Absolutely, we did it. Yep, we did definitely.
Why'd you do that?
I don't know. Lou wanted to get Koval struck, and the rest was history.
Yeah,
you just had to go and do that.
Yeah, we had to give up Johnny Oduya for that guy.
Oh, thank God.
Oduya. Anyway, we'll talk about trade deadline soon, but we'll start things off with a team we talked about last week a little bit about who Toronto needs to keep an eye out for, and they just keep getting hotter and hotter. and that's the surging Boston Bruins, who find themselves just 3 points back entering play tonight of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Granted, Toronto has a game in hand. They're currently playing Seattle. Boston is off tonight. They don't play next until the 10th when they play Chicago after falling in overtime to LA last night. So they're currently in the first wildcard spot, but just 3 points behind. One more game played. They'll be even in games with Toronto after tonight. So it could be with games played. We could be looking at a situation. Something's playing weird. We could be looking at a situation of Toronto up 5 points. But the way Boston has played and the way Toronto has played, and we talk about that because last Wednesday, like the Toronto was lost to two teams they shouldn't have. They got shellacked last Wednesday by the Sabres in a game where it looked like Sabres were the playoff team and Toronto wasn't. And they just, I mean, they're 500 at best. They're playing mediocre at best hockey. Again, we talked about last week their defense and their goaltending, but Boston has gotten everything from their defense and goaltending that they've needed. They're as even as a playoff team can be when it comes to goals for and goals against. The only team closest currently in a playoff spot are the Dallas Stars, or there's a couple teams with a worse goal differential in a playoff spot with them, and that's Dallas, Vegas, and Los Angeles, which is weird to say Vegas in that sentence. But what, Jim, I'll start with you. What has been most impressive about this run? And I hate saying this because I really just, the Bruins make me cringe. What has been most impressive about this run that the Bruins are on that no one really expected seeing them play this way going into this year?
I mean, the big question for everybody going into this season was going to be if the goaltending was going to go hold up with Swayman and Ullmark. And both guys have really held up really nicely, even when there was talk of Tuukka Rask coming back. And even when he did come back, you know, Swayman went down. He was okay with it. But the thing is, you see the camaraderie with those two guys. And Ullmark was a perfect, you know, replacement for Rask, I think. And now Swayman's taken over the number one. It's weird to see that. I believe he's still a Calder Trophy candidate. Is that correct? Yeah, Chris, definitely. And you know, I think he could win it, to be honest. I like the way he's playing. I mean, he had that great month of February for the Bruins. And the big thing for me is outside their second-line center, which you never know. They might be able to get Krejci in before the playoffs. You never know with that. But the fact that they split up the top line, I think, has added another element to this team now that you're not relying on a perfection line anymore, and you're spreading out your offense. You got Pasternak playing with Hall. You got DeBrusk up on that top line. Everybody now slots in where they need to be. And like the only question is, do they go out and get a second-line center and maybe add depth to the defense?
Chris, what do you think?
I mean, look, Eric Hall has been everything that they could have asked for here. I don't know why this move wasn't made much sooner. I'm sorry, they did try this, and then they didn't stick with it when there was a little tiny bit of adversity, God forbid. And I wish coaches would kind of go back to, you know, it's a case of going back to the well, and it's okay for once. And in this case, it absolutely was. Hall plays a defense that Pasternak and Hall never could in their dreams. But he also provides a speed element, which is just paramount to that line. Because look, is Taylor Hall as fast as he used to be? No. Is David Pasternak basically dragging two mules up the ice? Yes. But that part doesn't matter now. They're scoring because they have a guy that creates space and speed in the form of Eric Hall. And as long as he plays his two-way game like he did at times in Nashville and a couple other places that we all know, they're going to be just fine. That allows them to go out and look for that depth defenseman or even that bottom 6 forward that they might need come playoff time. So for them, this is the icing on the cake, obviously, or the cherry on top of the pie, is that Toronto is falling back to them, which means they potentially could avoid that team known as Tampa Bay.
Potentially. And that's if Tampa Bay wins that division. But, I mean, that Florida-Tampa Bay run, it's going to be so much fun to watch because Florida's
going to be like last year, but better.
Yeah, Florida's as capable as anybody to go off and just pull away with the division, just like Tampa's as capable as anybody to do that. So watching them fight tooth and nail and go back and forth and jump each other in the standings every other day is going to be the most exciting division battle in all of hockey for the rest of the regular season to me. Granted, now what happens come the playoffs? Will Florida actually win a series? Maybe. Depends on who they play. I'd take them over Toronto. I'd take them personally. I'd take them over Boston.
Nhl Trade revenge series right there.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd take them over Washington, but we'll see. Carolina's had a nice run to get back into first in the East. The top, I have never been more excited about a battle at the top of a conference as I have about the East this year. Like, that's just kind of where I'm at with that. And the Bruins, obviously, they're not a top of the East team, but they're going to be the one team, I think, aside from a Pittsburgh because of who Pittsburgh is and who they've been. But Boston, to me, is the one team that you face them in the playoffs and you don't want to. Like, if I'm anybody, if I'm Florida, Tampa, even though I would take Florida in the series, if I'm Florida, Tampa, or God forbid somehow Toronto, there is no way I want to, even Carolina, there's no way I want to face Boston in the opening round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm going out on a limb right now. Florida plays Boston. Bye, Florida. It's nice knowing you. You guys realize that.
Going out on
you guys realize how bad Pavelski has been career against Boston, right?
Yeah, but are you really going out on a limb by saying Florida probably won't win a playoff series?
You kind of are this year because at some point you think that they would be able to win one. I mean, the only team that's on their level of futility is, the other team in the division, Toronto.
Yeah.
Darn it, that's the rough thing with this. It's like,
this is how bad Toronto has been.
Can there be a parlay bet on both teams not winning round one? Come on, Jim. We got to get the guys.
I would do it. I throw a parlay on those two teams not winning the playoff series for sure.
Toss $5-10 on it.
And right now, the way Boston's playing, I wouldn't want to play Boston going into playoffs. I wouldn't want to do that. I mean, granted, they did lose in overtime to a hungry LA Kings team, and it's been a great, run for the Kings. But I think this is because dating back pre-pandemic, I think the Kings have won the last couple games in Boston.
It is a little weird.
It is weird, but you know what? Boston hang in there, got a point out of it. They're playing good. I mean, look, they just didn't get the bounces, but this team is playing very well right now.
I get to say this. Boston lost to a trap team last night.
They did. They really did.
Now, here is where it comes from. And Mike, this actually comes from Buffalo. A Buffalo reporter mentioned this last night. And I quote, Boston loses trap game to Kings, who played the trap. I cannot remember for the life of me who wrote the article, but it was about how the Kings trapped their way to a win. It was an AP article. That's all I know.
Yeah, that is absolutely fantastic.
It really is.
It was. It was epic. I had a good laugh.
I think if I would have saw it at the time, I probably would too. It's still like LA's another team. We've talked about them a lot too. Like their season, man, they found the fountain of youth this year and they're getting production out of where they need to get production. So good on them. And we'll probably talk about them more coming the deadline section of the show. But before wrapping up on the Bruins, is there any area of this team that concerns you about what they could do? Like for me, and it's like low hanging fruit. But if Swayman even goes anywhere near beginning of the season, Swayman, that's where I get worried. But I don't see him doing that. But there is always that possibility.
I mean, I think the biggest threat to the Bruins right now is themselves. I mean, Marchand's just got to not be suspended for 6 games. And they got to avoid the injury bug because I think that's hurt them a little bit is the injuries and Marchand not being in the lineup. He's such a valuable player to that team despite being like a complete, rat on the ice. He's such a productive player, and if he just got that element out of his game, they'd be talking about him for Hart Trophy kind of stuff because that's the kind of how much of an impact he's had on the Bruins. But and then there's Patrice Bergeron. I mean, I think they try to go all in because no one knows what the future is for some of these guys after this year, especially Bergeron. The way he's been talking, he may decide to go someplace else or retire. Who knows? But I think the Bruins, if anything, it's themselves right now. It's like Tampa. It's the same adage with them. I think Tampa's just gets in their own way. I think similar things with Boston right now. Maybe defensively they can have a little bit of a breakdown. Maybe get that depth defenseman they need in there to shore some things up. But other than that, this Bruins team is right now is physical and they're playing big bad Bruins style.
And to me, so we'll talk more about this later, but with the Bruins, obviously Jake DeBrusk has been linked to trade rumors for the last couple of years. With what they're doing this year, is he like one of those players you just hang on to? Or do you still try and flip him for somebody or something?
I think you almost got to kind of hold on to him at this point.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think because technically, even if he gets the summer, he's still RFA, so you could just try to trade him then and maybe do like a sign and trade because I think just the way he's playing right now. And on that first line, I mean, the chemistry's there. And I think if they had done that a lot sooner than this year, maybe DeBrusk doesn't want out.
Yeah. And who knows? Yeah, if you finally use them properly.
Yeah, exactly. The old adage of the last two shows is put him in the right place.
Nice. Gee.
I feel like that's the adage of every hockey team.
Right.
And speaking of hockey teams that are using the right players in the right places right now, the Dallas Stars have surged right up the playoff standings.
Whoops.
They're on a 4-game win streak, 7 of their last 10. Granted, they're very mediocre when it comes to their goal differential. They are a +5. They are terrible on the road, but they get it done at home. But they are sitting there now tied for 3rd in the Central. 4 points behind St. Louis. They are, granted, it doesn't really matter much with the Pacific, but they are 1 point behind with 2 games in hand on Vegas. So if I'm doing the traditional 1 through 8 seeding, and they're a point up with the same amount of games on Nashville, another Central team, and then 3 points up with 2 games in hand on Edmonton. They have found themselves in a nice. I know it's really early. There's still 27 games left in the season for them. But they find themselves in a really nice control your own destiny type of situation. Again, like last year where they ended up getting canned in 3 straight games against Detroit, completely killing their chances of making the playoffs. But this year things seem different. It's like we talked about LA finding the fountain of youth. Dallas, granted, we talked. Joe Pavelski continues to do.
He's immortal.
Yeah, he really is immortal.
Yeah, immortal things. But Ryan Sutter has looked pretty solid for him in the back. You're not getting like the production from Tyler Seguin. He's kind of turned it up over the last handful of games. You're not getting the same production that you would out of Jamie Benn, but they're getting it from role players when they need it, and this team sometimes.
Some guy named Jason Roberts.
Yeah, I don't know. Some guy
back-to-back hat tricks and
4
styling and profiling.
47 games. He leads the team in goals with 29. He's one of only 3 players on Dallas with more than 20 goals. One of only 5 players on Dallas with double-digit goals. 54 points in 47 games. Him and Pavelski are just dominating the score sheet for the Stars.
He's got 19 winning goals.
He's absolutely, and it's by far and away the best on the team. The next closest is Hintz with 5.
Yep.
And this is a team that Dallas, I don't know. Are they for real? It's hard for me after last year and what happened down the stretch to say they are. But this is also still a same team that in the bubble made it to the final. So 2 years ago. So I don't know what to make of the Stars at all.
They're fun at home, especially
on the road. Yeah, if you get them on the road, you expect to.
Although they have won more games on the road of late than they've lost. So I mean, there's some progress, and actual tangible progress.
And they are playing tonight on the road
in Nashville.
In Nashville.
Yo, Taco Tuesday
watch
Taco
is
Tuesday
on.
is on. Yep.
Taco.
And we'll get into the source of the Taco Tuesdays in the next segment too, because there's a small update on his stance from the Predators. But yeah, Dallas, like, they're fun at home. Like, they're not going to have home ice advantage in any series this year. But is this a team that if they make the playoffs, are they good enough to maybe, I don't want to say make it to the final again, but are they good enough to maybe sneak out a round or two?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
In that division, absolutely, because I mean, look at what's in that division right now.
Outside of them matching
Colorado.
up with Colorado, I think they could beat any team.
And even
in that
then,
division. Yeah.
But here's the thing: if the season ends today, they're playing Calgary.
Yes, oddly enough. Remember the crossover, Jim.
And then that's the team
they play well against them too. That's the weird part.
They beat them in the bubble in the first round when they went to the final.
Yeah.
They're the ones that caused all the changes in Calgary in the first place.
Yeah.
This, to me, that's why I said they're in this situation where they're in that perfect, with, again, near 30 games. They're in that control your destiny. Like, they are in a beautiful sweet spot for a team with their playoff future not set in stone.
Yeah, I mean, for me though, Dallas is kind of weird because it's like an up a roller coaster type thing, with them. Because at the beginning of the year, Rick Bowness was on the hot seat. Like, if
he's
they
still
were
a bonehead.
Yeah, I imagine if Dallas doesn't make the playoffs after all this, he's probably gone. Let's be honest here. But again, at the beginning of the year, Sagan and Ben needed another kick in the pants. He always said our best players need to be our best players. He even called out Joe Pavelski, which I don't understand because Pavelski has been their best player since the bubble. So I don't know where that was coming.
Cool of decision making.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know I don't know what you're watching because Pavelski's been great. The issue was for them at the beginning of the year, they were playing with 3 goalies. Like, I didn't understand why they needed to bring in Holtby when they had Hudobin and Ottinger, who were great last year. And now the fact that Ottinger's got in the net, it's shown why he's probably going to be the guy of the future for this team. And that's why they need to, yeah, I mean, that's, great stat by Chris right here. 8-2 on their last 10 on the road. So, I mean, Dallas can win on the road now. They can win at home. They're a complete team. But, yeah. It's Gurianov, it's Pavelski, it's Hintz, it's Jason Robertson, and Ben and Sagan have become role players now for this team. On the back end, you got Heiskanen, Lindell, Klingberg, who may not be going anywhere now because this team's in playoff position. So it's just this Dallas team is so 1 week they look so good, the next week they don't look great. Yeah, maybe playoffs. You don't know with this team, but the thing is, if this team gets in, they can be like 2019 Columbus, where they can win around and not knock off a big team that's going to try to go to the playoffs because of that style, and they know how to do it because they've been there before. I don't know if they get back to the 2020 form where they went to the Stanley Cup final, but if they can add something or just keep the same team and continuously play like this, they have a shot, especially if they match up against teams they play well against.
Absolutely.
Do you think this is a team, and before we move on to the next, to trade deadline talk.
The big segment.
Is this a team, if Tyler Seguin doesn't get back to where Tyler Seguin needs to be, I know he's played better lately, but can they actually do it if they're not getting more production out of him? Because they can't rely on just Robertson all the time and Pavelski all the time. Like, they're not going to get them far. At the end of the day, they still only have a +5 goal differential on the season. And yes, they've played a lot better lately, but playoffs we talk about, they're gonna need depth scoring. Like we say, you can't just outscore the opponents because Edmonton, we talked about that, but they still are going to need scoring. And right now, I look at it like in the playoffs where those top 2 players to me are going to be shut down. Like, teams are going to go out of their way. Let's put it this way: go out of their way to try and shut them down, forcing the hand of their other players. Can their other players step up and actually produce the way they're going to need them to? And right now, it's hard for me to think they will.
Well, it all depends where the offense comes from. I mean, Miro Heiskanen led the Dallas Stars in points in their run to the Stanley Cup final. If he's going to do that again, then book the Dallas Stars to go to the Stanley Cup final again. And I don't know if you can stop Joe Pavelski because a lot of his goals are from these deflections in front. He puts himself in a position to get his stick on the puck, and then the puck finds itself in the back of the net. That's very hard to defend for sure, and that opens up so much more. I mean, they also don't forget Hudobin played at lights out for 4 rounds. So I mean, can they? Yes, but I think that's where your offense is going to come if they're going to do it. But they need everybody to chip in like they are because it's not like Toronto and Hall and letting in anymore. It's them turning themselves into like the next.
Yeah. Oh, I think we lost.
Damn it.
Did we lose Jim here?
We kind of lost Jim.
I think we might have lost Jim here.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. If that's the case, we're back to this.
Oh, we're back to the split screen.
Oh, here he is. He's back.
I'm back.
We've gone back to the tri-oval again.
I don't know what happened.
The internet, it's being hacked. Your internet's being hacked.
No, it's not. Definitely not. For sure.
The internet's is fine.
Yeah, the internet's just fine. But I was saying, like, this team could be like the 90s Devils where they're going to get production from everybody. They're not just going to be like the Madonna, Lettinen, and Hull Dallas Stars anymore. They have to have a team game to win in the playoffs. They just can't rely on 2 guys to do it.
Yeah. Yep. And we're going to see what happens if they make it to the playoffs. And speaking of teams trying to make to the playoffs, there's a lot of things coming up over the next 2 weeks. There are a lot of decisions that need to be made with the NHL trade deadline looming on March 21st. And reminder, March 21st, you can see this handsome fella hosting full press coverage.
He's enjoying this way too much.
Deadline starting at noon Eastern on all of our platforms, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook. Guests galore, news, and everything. Look at that handsome man in the optical illusions. We are just 13 days away from it. Damn right, Mr. Clean Ready. Consider that a compliment. I got called a knockoff by a Twitter troll. Knockoff Dax Shepard. And I'm or not Dax Shepard, Dax Harwood.
That's a good compliment.
And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I don't think this means what you're trying to tell me. Like, you're trying to insult me. I'm sitting there thinking,
hey, that's pretty good.
Good-looking man. Like, also, and then there's the report that came out. There's the story, the report that came out that said the more attractive you are, the less likely you were to get COVID. And I'm like, that explains why I've never gotten it, because I'm a handsome son of a bitch. And you exactly knew why I did it. I'm very happy.
Yep.
Nice.
So we got some trades. What?
Trade?
We got some rumors. What? There's a lot of teams that are clearly going to be buyers. There's a lot of teams that should be sellers and won't admit they're sellers. And there's a lot of teams that are like, give us all the cap and we'll take it. Just give us some picks with it. Arizona and Buffalo. And there's just a lot here, but we're going to start with Taco Tuesday. Okay. Just a quick update on that. Nashville wants to keep Forsberg. Forsberg wants to stay in Nashville. They can't come to an agreement. They're still listening, but there's been no movement. Do you think, before we get into the main, what I posed before the show, do you think a deal gets done and he stays in Nashville long term?
Man, I'm being put on the spot, aren't I, here? Yeah, he's been my guy since basically Marty Erat.
Best trade
ever. Oh, it's beautiful.
Great trade for Nashville. What a steal.
You know what? I do think he stays eventually. This is going to be back and forth for a while, but I mean, ultimately, that town loves him to death. I mean, not to mention all the restaurants. And I do mean all the restaurants. Man can eat. But you almost have to throw the pocketbook, the purse strings, the checkbook, whatever you want out and say, was it going to take? Because it's the only person that probably should be making more money than Forsberg at this point in Nashville is arguably Roman Josi. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
And if you got to throw a little bit more than that, I don't think Yoshi's going to be all that insulted because they kind of need a guy like Forsberg. Now, there's the obvious, and it's going to be talked about. Well, Forsberg can't stay healthy. Well, that's because you don't really have anybody to protect him on his line half the time because he's faster than the line mates that are on his line. So, I mean, you do have to have some kind of, he's had some freakishly bad luck, if you will. So, yes, he does have to stay healthy. I get the concern, but he is a generational talent for that team. And that's the key point for this, for that team.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's why they have to pay him. Because he's going to get it somewhere else. He absolutely is. If God forbid they do not come to an agreement, somebody is going to pay him $9.5, $10 million per year for the next 7 years.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that, no doubt. I mean, look, he should be getting more money than Duchesne and Johansson because just of his production value and what he means to this team. I mean, this is the first year since those contracts were signed that Duchesne and Johansson have been producing, and that's the reason why, they're in the position that they're in. But the problem is the Preds have been struggling lately, and I wonder if they fall out of this thing, do they consider it? I mean, it's gonna be a deadline day deal if they decide to move him. So it could be the Chris Kreider where, okay, yeah, his name has been out there, we're gonna look to move him. Deadline comes, we'll just sign him to an extension that day too. I mean, they could do that there too. It would be hard for me to see him in another uniform, considering pretty much he spent like his entire career in Nashville, despite like being drafted by Washington and everything, and he fits that team and fits that city, and it'd just be tough for him to leave, I think.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I feel. I ultimately think it gets done. Personally, I don't know if that's my heart thinking more than my brain, but I ultimately think it's done, and I want Taco Tuesdays to continue forever and ever. Still no goals from him, but we'll talk here. The question I posed to you guys earlier this afternoon to think about is when it comes to the trade deadline, there's all these players that are like hot commodities that for sure will be dealt. What players come to mind that are going to be the hardest to see moved?
Ooh.
And we already know which one because he was supposed to be a main topic of the show, and then we decided to include him into this. So you know what, Jim? Let's start with you. Since you raised your hand so politely.
Oh, I got one. I got one. The guy's name is PK Subban.
Hey, he had a great appearance in Jackass Forever, just saying.
He did.
This is true.
This is true. However, as Tom Fitzgerald so politely said to Pierre LeBrun in The Athletic, the Devils are not going to resign him, and it's going to be tough to move them. That $9 million salary cap is hit.
1 year.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough to move. I mean, if you're going to have to get teams involved, as I mentioned to the boys, I proposed a little trade scenario for, you get a little three-way team involved here where the Devils and another team eat some of that salary so he can be put on the books for another team. They're definitely going to have that conversation and see if he can move him, but it's going to be tough to move his contract, and I just don't know where he fits in some other teams anymore, just because if he's using the right role like Chara should have been in the Islanders, yeah, he can fit someplace, but he can't be playing more than a third pairing right now. And but I think it's just going to be tough for the Devils to move him unless it makes sense for PK and the Devils, and they're going to get something for him.
Is he kind of the same way, Chris?
100,000,000%.
That's not a thing. It's 0 to 100. You can't have it.
All right. I'll just go with 100 then. It seems
God!
good enough. But look, you have to look at it this way too. I mean, this has been a long time coming, and we know the inevitable half of a half is coming. We like to call it the Savard.
Yeah.
Because that's about the only way that, or they're going to have possibly take somebody back in return that they really don't want. But one way or the other, this is getting done. Is it unfortunate?
He's moved.
Oh yeah, he's going. He's going somewhere.
So, if he gets moved, if it ultimately done, what team do you think actually takes him? Because there's no contender that's going to be able to fit him, unless you talked about earlier, a third team comes in. But they're like, what contender is going? Like, if a third team comes in to help, I have a feeling that third team, depending on who it is going to want a first round draft pick.
Well,
for a contract that big, they're either going to want a prospect who should be ready next year, or in my mind, a higher pick.
Well, we know Buffalo and Arizona have come out publicly and said they'll help teams facilitate deals. So,
yep. And it may not take a first. It may take a second. What if it's a second in 2023?
That's a good draft.
It is, but there's a lot of teams. I don't know. Maybe I think if it comes to that, I'm thinking Arizona would be more likely to take that because that'll be their loaded draft for when they're in a new city, as opposed to Buffalo.
But good point, though.
Actually, no. Maybe Arizona wants it this year so they can build up hype for that raucous 5,000 max crowd. You know what? I'm talking shit when right now they still outdraw the Sabres by like 4,000 a game. They won't next year, though. Buffalo outdrawn by like 100.
By the way, for those that don't know, Arizona is winning 5-1 right now in Detroit.
Are you serious?
Incredible.
Yeah, I'm dead serious.
And Phil Kessel, real quick, a congrats to Phil Kessel, who left the game to fly back to Arizona to be with his wife, who's
the better Kessel, by the way.
Yeah. Devils decided to wake up too.
Well, if somebody finds a way to like kidnap Hebert for the third period, that would be great. Because at this point, it's just gotten ridiculous. I can't believe some of the the quote unquote beat writers of New Jersey are even kind of squawking about this. They have a legit point. Hebert and the other wonderful French-Canadian ref that will go nameless on this show should be nowhere near ever officiating Devils games. Ever. And this goes all the way back, and Jim will remember this, the Travis Zajac incident with Vancouver. Now this one irks people because somehow Vancouver got a 5-on-3 even though Zajac got decapitated.
Yep.
I mean, he technically didn't get decapitated. He still played.
Like, he's feeling... No. Here we go. He's feeling better. Also, the same ref that was there for... which one was it? I'm trying to remember which Tom Wilson incident it was because there's so many with New Jersey. But there were at least two. And... it's just one of those things where it's like, damn, Devils come back. And it's like, there's another penalty. And to be fair, again, the penalty kill. Yeah, just please fire it. Just please do it. Somebody please just put me out of my misery and get rid of this coach before. Yeah. But all joking aside, we have to get back to the thing, the great trade deadline thing.
So
the thing.
One player
the tough player.
One player that will not be moving because he just signed a new extension today is Jared McCann in Seattle, who signed a 5-year, $25 million extension. Oh, my Lord. Good for McCann for getting that.
Goals!
But I don't care. Like, 33 points in 50 games, minus 21. You have a terrible coach, and again, an equally terrible GM. Man, every week Seattle gives me something to.
It's the gift that keeps on giving for Mike, by the way.
It really is. Every week I can find something to point to go, like, this is why you suck. They've been in the league for less than a damn year, and I have at least a dozen decisions of why Seattle sucks. And I'd be much more confident of my team's future if I was a Arizona fan, if I was a Buffalo fan, if I was a Montreal fan, if I was an Ottawa fan, if I was a Chicago fan. Hell, if I was the Atlanta Thrashers in 2011, I'd be more confident of Atlanta keeping the Thrashers than I am of Seattle ever being good with these two at the helm. Let's put it this way. Seattle is so bad at their decision-making, I actually believe Brett Hull's goal should have counted like it did. Seattle is so bad at decision-making that it makes... Hold on. Seattle's so bad at decision-making, it makes the Sabres look smart for letting Briere and Drury walk while signing Bannock to an 8-year extension offer sheet. It makes Seattle look so bad. They're so bad that Ville Leno is a number one center.
Oh, my ears. That did it.
They are so bad.
That did it.
They are so bad that you could come out and give Sergei Bobrovsky an 8-year, $72 million contract, and I say that's a value deal. Everything that organization does in less than a year is an absolute dumpster fire. And they're dumpster fire. Like, no, that's harsh. That's an insult to dumpster fires. At least dumpster fires provide warmth. They don't provide shit. And anyway, good on Jared McCann. He's not being dealt. Good on him for getting his coin. Seattle, I want to crack open a can of whoop ass on you cracking heads. There's a reason why their fan base is called the Crackheads. Maybe the management should be called the Crackheads because they must be on something to be making these goddamn decisions. Anyway, other players that are possibly being moved here in the coming weeks, and the big one that is on the top of everybody's list, everybody's mind, where he's going, is he going to go, is he going to stay, is Claude Giroux. He has said multiple times he loves Philly. We know he loves Philly. Philly loves him. But at the same time, he's not young. Philly is in a rebuild. They are stupid and traded a first-round pick for Rasmus Dahlin. So they must have had a clone of Ron Francis making that deal because Chuck Fletcher's as big of a joke as Ron Francis. Anyway, and we all know whatever deal the Flyers make, if they trade Giroux, they're going to get hosed by. But does Giroux, because he's going to have to be convinced by whatever team wants to trade for him. Is there any way he does get dealt, or does he stay with the Flyers?
I guarantee you there's deals already in place. He's just got to pick the team he wants to go to. Once the 1,000-game mark passes, it's going to be like, okay, here's the scenarios, here's the teams here are the deals we can get for you. Pick where you want to go. We just have to send the trade call in, because I think he's going, and I think any team can get him. I think Florida, Colorado, take your pick.
Yeah, there's teams. So the 4 teams that come to mind for me: Colorado, Florida, Carolina, and Boston. Do you see him ultimately ending up? Oh, there goes Chris.
Bye, Chris.
Ultimately ending up on any of those teams, those 4 teams.
I think, like I said, I think Colorado or Florida those are my 2 favorites right now for him. I think just because I think if they could figure out a way to make the cap work in both of those scenarios, I think he'd be great, considering, I think that's one of the reasons why Colorado failed is they just didn't have that extra potent guy that they need. I think right now you could clearly see in these last couple games. I think goaltending and defense is something Colorado needs to look at. I think Giroux could put Florida over the edge of winning a playoff series. I really do. So I think he could fit in there as well. Boston long shot for sure, but I think those two teams for me are.
Let's see what happened here.
You are back. You died too. It must be a night of the terrible internet. Your area.
Yeah, I know we got some wind and stuff in the area, so.
Yeah. So, Chris, the question I posed to Jim, there's 4 teams I see really being strong suitors for Giroux: Boston, Colorado, Florida, and Carolina. Could you see him on any one of those 4 teams, or do you see him on any of those 4 teams? Or if there's another team, who could it be? I feel like I should play the song. Who could it be now? I feel like I need to.
Who could it be knocking at my door? Damn, that it really is catchy when you think about it. Damn.
Yeah. So do you see him? Where do you possibly see him ending up?
All right. Well, look, Colorado seems to be heading in another direction for Giroux at least. Weird, right? Because you would have thought like a week and a half ago that this was all just about a. Remember, Giroux had like the somber press conference, even that it was just like, yeah, I'm kind of going somewhere, yeah. And then it's basically evaporated. So clearly, Colorado's decided we found our guy, but we're not going to say who it is yet because we have to be right up against the cap, literally to the like 255 a trade deadline day to make a deal. So if it's not them. I mean, this is going to scare the living daylights out of Devils fans. But the Rangers have definitely kicked the tires, at least on a way to acquire Giroux. Don't mean anything's going to happen, but but
it would be great for the 2021-2022 Jack Adams Award-winning.
What you do, man? Come on.
Gallant.
Come on, dude.
Wait, hear me out on this, Jim. What does Claude Giroux excel in other than grabbing cops' asses?
Penalties? No.
Imploding in the playoffs.
This is true.
Listen. You just
haters.
You are biased. You are biased because you're a Devils fan.
Wait, Jim. I watched the 2012 playoffs from the press box, right?
I'm sitting there.
They did.
2012 was a decade ago, Chris. Move on.
Wait. Ask Sidney Crosby.
Yeah, but outside of the first
I don't care about him.
Yeah, but outside of the first round, what Giroux do in the playoffs?
Yeah, we're still waiting.
That was 10 years ago.
But we're still waiting for him to do something.
Exactly.
Well, Philly's got to get back to the playoffs to do something.
Yeah, but even in the regular season, we're waiting for him to do something.
Okay, you know who I'm waiting to do something?
Mm-hmm.
This next team talking about the NHL trade deadline here and what they could possibly do. And that team is the Calgary Flames. Yes, I said Calgary. And also, I am getting so much better at these damn segues based on what you guys say that I need to start getting some sponsor reads and ads for this show. But Calgary, we know the Matthew Tkachuk, Johnny Gaudreau situation. We know neither of them are going anywhere. We know Tyler Toffoli was brought in from Montreal. What else can they do to solidify themselves as a top 3 Stanley Cup contender? Because in my mind, the top 2 are Colorado and Tampa, because Tampa will always, I don't care if Tampa's a wild card team, they're a top 2 team because they've won it the last 2 years. And then you got Colorado, and then to me, Calgary is right up there right now in the top 3. What does Calgary need to do, though, to solidify that position as being taken seriously for a cup run?
They might have they've done it already, I think, with Tyler Toffoli. I mean, 7 goals in 10 games since coming over from Montreal. He had 9 in 37 games prior to that, and everything's just fit into place right now. I think the only thing for them is maybe a depth defenseman, really. I think both. If you can use Dan Vladar to beat Colorado in overtime, you're doing something right defensively. and playing the right way. I mean, I think everybody's bought in. You know, Daryl Sutter has adjusted his system so well to let those guys at the top play their style of game. But the issue for Calgary is going to be is can they change and be a physical team come the playoffs, because we've seen Gaudreau and Lindholm and Monahan get pushed around in the playoffs. Can Calgary be the one that's pushing around? And I think with Toffoli around and playing under Darryl, I think they'll be fine. I think it's defense for them. I think they want to shore that up.
And yeah, shoring up that defense. And again, like I sang the praises of him not too long ago, but Oliver Kylington is just, man, is he like, okay, so Cal McCarr to me right now is my favorite player to watch in hockey. Like the stuff he does is absolutely incredible. Kylington, from what
he just got schooled by Jack Hughes, though.
That's one little play. He's still better than Jack Hughes. Anyway, he is he's way, dude. Your Homer bias here with the Devils. You know,
I don't
know. Chris Kreider is better than Jack Hughes.
Oh, now you're pushing.
Anyway, Calgary's defense. Here's a weird one. Do you think, you talk about defense, do you think for a cup run, Calgary calls Seattle and goes, send Giordano back?
No.
You don't think that could be a fit, or do you think that'll disrupt too much of what they're doing?
I mean, right now they're what, tied for the Jennings League?
Yeah.
For least goals allowed?
Yeah.
I mean, so it's not so much from a
yeah, they're tied with Carolina. Yeah,
it's not so much from a defensive goals allowed standpoint. It's more of it is more of a physical type of thing with them. Do you want a guy in his late 30s coming back that, you know, probably lost a step physically? No. So they're, you know, sadly, as much as it would be great to see them reunited, they do need somebody that basically just hits the hell out of people.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to say this is that player, but if you're Calgary, are you calling a Montreal for a Ben Sherratt then?
It's going to depend on what the cost is. I mean, right now it's probably too much for a Calgary to stomach. If it comes down a little bit, then it's more of a possibility. I mean, look, it's weird. That's going to be one of those players, Mike, that it's just there. Any other year, he doesn't get even sniffing the return that he's going to get now.
100%. I agree 100%.
But the dynamics are there now where it's just like, holy crap. And the more you try to talk it down, the more it comes back. It really is like a bad nightmare boomerang.
And especially in my mind, because there's teams that are looking to shore up defense. Like, you look at a team like Los Angeles, like, you know, they're out there calling everyone and anyone they can that has a top four defenseman available.
Because they're hurt.
And they might be the only team that would even possibly come close to what Arizona wants for Chychrun. Still don't think that gets done. But, LA could be a team that might give up close to what Montreal wants for Sherratt. They might. I mean, you talked about John Klingberg maybe not being moved, but they also might be a team that gives up close to that. Like, there's so many of these players. Like, does LA call Chicago about DeHaan? Do they even just take a flyer on a player? Excuse me. This would like a Kulak. There's one player that people are thinking is going to be traded, and they'd be stupid if any team trades for him. That's Rasmus Ristolainen from the Flyers, because watching him do what he does in Philly after seeing what he did in Buffalo for all these years is really funny when you're not a fan of the team.
I mean,
it's pretty painful.
I think the guy maybe that people aren't talking enough about if Philly is Justin Braun. I think that's a defenseman that potentially could be good for Calgary. I mean, he's a physical player on that back end. He could slot in real nicely in Daryl Sutter's system.
And I know, like, you talk about Justin Braun, I feel like a team that would do well to inquire about him would be, they're linked to everybody in every trade ever, even if it's not the same sport, but it's Toronto. Like, if I'm Toronto, I'm calling Philly to try and figure it out because they need people back there like that too.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sherratt would be good for Toronto, but I don't know if they're willing to give up the price for Sherratt.
Montreal, I don't know.
I mean, it's not like they haven't made trades before, but I don't know.
Yeah, but for something where Montreal's asking for this,
I don't know if they do it. I think Braun's probably a guy that definitely fits in. We don't know what's going on in Anaheim with Manson and Lindholm. I mean, those guys could be on the move if they don't get contract extensions done. Like you mentioned Dahan, I think that'd be another nice fit for Calgary as well. I think he would fit into that system pretty good. He's having a decent year with Chicago too. He's pretty physical too, from what I've seen of him, and I think he would fit in pretty good too.
All right, as we only have a couple minutes left.
Wrinkle time.
What one player do you think doesn't get dealt that everybody seems to expect will?
Ooh. Come on, Jim, help me out here.
Ooh,
because I'm gonna get killed for the guy I pick.
You go first.
I got the under the radar guy that doesn't get dealt. Dylan Strome. Dylan Strome does not get dealt after all the crazy crap that he's dealt with the last 2 seasons in Chicago. Because at the end of everything, I'm not going to say that other cliche thing. Oh, hell no. Him, DeBrincat, and Patrick Kane, for better or for worse, are the best trio that team has right now. Period. And it's been that way, and I don't know why it took them all season to get back to this point. But I just watched them absolutely just dissect Anaheim twice.
Yeah.
In the span of a few minutes.
I'll tell you a guy I think that probably everybody's talking about, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think JT Miller stays in Vancouver. I don't think he's going to get dealt. I mean, it might be low-hanging fruit, but I just don't think Vancouver's willing to give up that player because I think they're building their offense around him.
And you took who I was going to say, and so I'm going to go with a different player. Going back to Chicago, a lot of people thought he might be the goalie sent to a contender, but I think Chicago somehow balks at trading Fleury, not because there's no interest, but because Chicago gets too stubborn and gets in their own way and doesn't accept what deals are offered. Because he kept wanting to make his mark. And it's, to me, kind of one of those things. Chris is raising.
I'm going to raise my hand. Fleury actually has gone on record and said that he's going to probably stay in Chicago. Because remember, he has the conch.
Yeah.
And so you can use it. You can use that, Mike. You get the absolute free bingo pass.
Yeah.
Good. Give me the bingo pass because I didn't hear that before I did. All right. Then, damn, what's another player that I don't think gets ultimately dealt? I mean, because there's other names out there like an Andrew Kopp and a Max Domi, and I don't know. Like Winnipeg, I don't think deals Kopp because I still think he's a big part. Like Connor, I still think ultimately he's a part of that. What they're going to build there.
I got one for you.
Maybe Domi is the player that people keep talking about, but I don't hear his name as much as I feel like this type of decision or this type of like pick. Of who doesn't get dealt that gets talked about or whatever that people think.
Here you go. What if Seattle gives you more ammo and decides that they're going to keep Cal Jarnkrok?
Oh, jeez. There are a few players that
Jim,
could move.
I wanted to end the show happy.
You can.
I can because they're going to give me more ammo because holy crap are they I'm already imagining it.
I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there.
And I don't know if I have such a vitriol
It's up there.
It's all right, Mike.
For Seattle, a brand new team, not even a year old. And if I had hair, I'd be ripping it out. Like if I had your hair, Jim, I wouldn't anymore. Because I'd be ripping it out the decisions. And I'm not even a fan of them. But I want to see new teams be competitive. I'm not saying I want to see a Vegas. I want to see them compete. I want to see them like show things are going in the right direction. And already less than a year in, things look like they're going 5 steps back.
It's true.
It's true.
Oh, they're
I'm
deep.
allergic to their shit. I'm sneezing here.
It is that bad. It really
bad.
is.
All right, Mike. That's sorry.
We're sorry, Mike.
Sorry, my bad. It's my bad. Why don't you?
You know what? We're gonna end the show with that.
Yeah, just end it there. We're good.
We're gonna go back.
We're just gonna walk off.
We're gonna play something that makes me happy here. We're gonna just end the show with some Pac-Man beats. Guys, thank you for tuning in wherever you've been listening on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, the Full Press app, fullpressradio.com. Reminder, you can follow us on Twitter at FullPressNHL. Follow Jim at Jim Biringer, Chris at Chris Wassel DFS, myself at Mike Straw Media. We will be back next Tuesday for the final pre-trade deadline edition of Full Press Hockey. Mike Saves Hockey this Friday at 3 p.m. Have no idea what I'm talking about. It might be I'm going to save Seattle. I'm going to come up with a plan to save the Seattle Kraken, and it might or might not involve folding them and starting the expansion process.
Do it.
Roof is on fire.
Plus, don't forget, Mike's mug's going to be everywhere for trade deadline when you see it. So
for the next 13 days, get used to people. That is great. Yes.
Trade deadline day, March 21st, noon Eastern, all over our platforms. Thank you again, everyone. Take care. Stay safe. We'll see you again next week.